Hello, welcome. It's yet another Star to Steer By, your
Woo.
favorite Star Trek watching podcast. This week we're doing more of the Enterprise. It's episode number 340.
Woo! Wow.
Woo. So by now, after all those episodes, you already know this is Ames.
This is Caitlin.
This is Jake.
And this is Chris.
So we're jumping into two Enterprise episodes this week. It's Phlox Tells You to Be Open-Minded About Fucked Up Alien Cultures Week. You have to do it, because Phlox told you so. Because we're looking at two episodes. Oh boy. Cogenitor and Regeneration. Wow, what a week. Why do I get the most complicated fucking episodes to describe? I didn't even take notes this week.
I don't know if plot-wise neither is complicated, I'd say. It's the feelings they evoke.
So many feelings. Okay, so let's start, oh boy, jumping straight feet first into Cogenitor. The way Phlox likes it.
Gross.
So, we're flying around doing the thing. We spot this, I think it was a hypergiant star of some kind, and Archer's got an erection about it, and everyone's like, look at this thing.
Yeah, they'll send Pike to watch it go supernova.
Oh, look, there's someone else also checking out this giant star thing. Let's hail them and be their best friend. So we hail them. They're the Vizians, and their captain, Drennick, played by Andreas Katsoulas. Hooray! It's great to see him.
Tomalak.
Who played Tomalak, other things. Jakar on Babylon 5, who's my favorite. So it's great to see him, and he, shockingly, thinks it's also great to see Archer, which never fucking happens. So Archer and he, immediate best friends. It's fucking adorable. So they're there, they're checking out ways that they can watch the superstar thingy that they do.
I thought you were going to say Super Bowl.
I was going to say supernova, but fair.
She's got sports ball in the brain.
Trying. And meantime, they're like, hey, let's all do like a cultural exchange. You guys can come over here, we'll go over there. We'll look at all the things together, hooray. So in mess hall, Trip is introducing some ladies to ice cream, as is his wont. He's done this before. Weird move, Trip.
Oh, who else? I couldn't...
Oh, the girl who was in the episode with Renee Bergenois.
Oh, that's right!
Yeah,
Yes.
It's like, oh, my favorite's Rocky Road, but, we'll start you on vanilla. Because it's
Excuse me.
Yeah, so those women are Velo and Tristana, and Reed comes over, and Velo's immediately like, I like this one. Let's us talk for a while. And Reed's like, sure. And Reed's down. But we'll get back to Reed in a hot second. Because Trip goes over to talk with their chief engineer. Never gets a fucking name for some reason. Cool.
Kike.
Played by F.J. Rio, who played Kike in DS9. We like him.
Didn't we see him in a different...
Yes, he was in a Voyager episode.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And also his wife, Kala. And Trip is about to introduce himself to the third at their table, and they're like, oh no, it doesn't have a name. That is our cogenitor, because we are a species with 3 genders, and we have this extra gender that's really only around to help with reproduction. And that's interesting. So Trip eventually is, talking with Phlox, saying, what's that all about? And Phlox is way too willing to talk about reproduction with Trip, so Trip yeets the fuck out of there, and is talking with other people about, it's kind of weird. They have this third person in their kind of, not couple plus third, that's only here for this thing, and everyone's saying, yeah, that's just how they do, as Phlox says, be open-minded about the other cultures, all this thing. But Trip decides, yeah, but this person seems that they're a person. And I should treat them like a person because I'm Trip and I'm a good guy and all this thing. I wonder if they can read and if they actually are as stupid as their couple people say they are. Let's find out. Archer goes off ship for, 3 days with Drennick? So they better be best friends.
In the tiniest fucking pod.
Where are they pooping? In front of each other, evidently. But they're off, so Archer's not around to babysit anyone who's just doing shit all over the ship. F.J. Rio is helping Trip with lots of engine stuff. Meanwhile, Trip is trying to pry lots of information about how cogenitors work, and it's the kind of stuff that's like, why you don't bring this stuff up in polite conversation, Trip, but alright, we're talking about this quite a lot.
Well, they might do it, though, because we find out that Reed's little friend is very,
yes.
That's
very
true. She is
forward.
very, yeah.
Yeah, Velo tells Reed, as Reed has been, like, feeding her cheese and stuff, and it's a cute little date until, she's like, okay, now we should fuck. And Reed's like, what? Because I guess in their society, fucking comes before dinner. Fascinating.
Before dinner, but after cheese.
Yes. Cheese is the aperitif.
Cheese is very heavy. I wouldn't want to do a lot of fucking right after cheese.
But it is, like, this does just add to the age-old adage that cheese is the way to a woman's heart.
You're not wrong.
Cheese to fucking key to anyone's heart.
Do
Yeah.
love a cheese. Meanwhile, so Trip has, is basically just sneaking around the Vizian ship at this point until he sneaks into the quarters of Chief Engineer No Name and Kala to talk with the Cogenitor. And he talks with them quite a while. He teaches them to read in fucking half an hour. He teaches them Go. They watch movies together. They do the whole thing. And, we're starting to really think, wow, this Cogenitor has been just being kind of repressed by these people and never getting a chance to be a person. And Trip is trying to advocate on their behalf quite a lot until they decide, they want their name to be Charles, like Trip's name, which is very cute and heartbreaking because now Trip has kind of instilled in their brain that they should seek asylum. And this is the time when Archer is getting back and learning that, oh dear, first contact is going poorly because we don't have a prime directive yet, so we don't know what to do. They've asked for asylum, but also these people need this person to be the cogenitor of this couple, and also this is how their culture works and not ours. And, oh god, everything is hard. Everyone is at heads, so let's take all this out by screaming at Trip. Wow. They give Charles back, again, heartbreakingly, until we learn later, okay, they've left. We're still best friends with Drennick, because Drennick's a good guy, and who eventually tells us, the Cogenitor, we'll call them Charles, killed himself. And Trip feels really, really bad about this.
And Archer thinks he should.
And, everyone should. Everyone should feel bad watching this episode. Because that's kind of its point, but also I'm not quite sure what its point is and whose side it thinks we should ever be on. So I'm very confused how I should be feeling about this as an episode.
I have been saving so much hate for
Don't-
Archer.
Please yell as little as possible.
Oh, no, I'm not going to yell.
Okay.
But I have been saving so much loathing for Archer for this episode.
I mean, he did fucking fumble it.
I have been easy on Archer because I was trying not to let my memories of this episode
I haven't been easy on Archer at all, so...
that too. But I was just every time in the back of my mind, when I was defending Archer, I'd be like, oh, come on. I know it's because we were coming here someday. Fuck this guy. Worst captain.
They asked for asylum!
Well, you know what?
And that was the one thing that I feel like Trip didn't kind of just suggest. They reached
that was their
on
idea.
their own.
Yeah. They said, I don't want to go back to my people. I
When
want
they-
to stay with you.
Yeah, and it was clear when they said that, Trip's face was like, oh, hell.
Fuck.
Yeah,
I fucked up
we
now.
can compare this episode a lot to something like Half-a-Life, in which Timothy is just carrying out his culture's norms and stuff with their... Oh, the name of their ritual suicide is out of my brain. Mediation.
It's like devotion or something.
It's either way, we know.
Whatever it is, yeah. Their ultimate demise.
Their awful culture idea.
Yeah. But eventually Timothy asks for asylum, and Picard has to say, well, you asked for asylum, therefore now I'm involved, and therefore I can grant you asylum. Until it's entirely someone else's coercing and convincing Timothy to do his thing. It's all on Timothy at that point, not on Picard or Lwaxana, who are doing the right thing.
What drives me crazy about John's self-righteous little speech is that the only reason he's actually mad is because he wanted these guys' toys.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
all
liked-
it is.
How dare you make me have a fight with my new best
Yeah,
friend?
he liked Daddy's Daddy Tomalak's
In his Corvette.
Corvette, and because here's the thing. Yeah, under no circumstances would Archer have forced Charles back to that ship if it weren't for that.
Well, it's like Tucker even says it. I learned it from watching you, and it's like, yeah, actually, he did, John. This, like you said, Caitlin, what do you did?
No, it was me. This is exactly what Archer would have done, and he's only angry because he didn't get to do it.
Well, again, and he's
He
threatening.
was too busy hanging out with his new daddy.
Yeah, he's threatening this friendship, which, I've said it for years. Yeah, you can't make a culture change its ways. I get it. You don't have to be friends with
I know. At the end, when they're saying, "Oh, I hope this doesn't affect our friendship," we'll come in, we'll trade friendships bracelets next week, and we'll see you at the cookout over the summer and all this thing. And my brain is screaming, "Don't hang out with these people."
Well, I would certainly hope that the Cogenitor taking their own life rather than living within the fucking horrible restrictions that have been placed on them would be enough for Archer to be like, maybe we don't hang out anymore.
I mean, the Federation does have a really bad history of being friends with people they shouldn't be friends with. See Riker.
The outcast.
Thank you. Or, as I love bringing up, that time they traded with one side of a civil war but claimed they weren't interfering.
Oh, the high ground.
Yeah. Like, it's classic Federation. It's not hypocrisy per se, but it's like, it always makes me uncomfortable. Again, like, fine, you have a non-interference clause, I get it. But again, if you find someone does something that you should find morally reprehensible, don't be their buddy. And the one thing I find comforting is, by TNG, they still can't fly that close to a star. So clearly, bridges are never mended between the Federation and these people. So, good. They seem
I like
awful.
that rating.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where, the culture is just so backward that, like, there's... Unless they figure it out on their own that, because it's not really explained why the Cogenitor is treated so poorly. Like what about it is makes it necessary that they be left as second-class citizens and not allowed to read and things.
I would imagine if they had more freedom, a will of their own, some of them could decide they don't want to be involved in this process, and there's so
few of them.
Yeah, they're like 3% of the population.
I wonder why there's only 3% in the population, and what you do, what your life is if you have one.
That's what I was thinking. These people are so eager for a kid. Like, imagine if you have a Cogenitor, they must just sell it.
Maybe there's like an institute you drop them off at.
Wasn't that in an episode we saw not long ago?
Duh.
Might have been a different show entirely I was watching. I feel like there was something where, like, someone was born, but they were taken away immediately because they were part of some sort of subclass. That wasn't Enterprise or Voyager or anything? Or...
It's not ringing a bell.
That might have been something else I was watching
then.
then.
It later.
It definitely came up in some show I was watching where, like, this kid's like, oh, yeah, I've got a baby brother. It's like, oh, wait, no, you don't, because your baby brother is actually from this subgroup and we're giving them away.
Oh, no.
Yeah. But yeah, I would imagine that's why. You just repress their will so that they just do whatever they're told.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, because it sounds like because there's only 3% of the population and they are needed for procreation.
Yeah, and education is power. Knowledge is literally power.
They just kind of get passed around.
It's very Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
It does feel very like that.
Because, like, the way they make them, at least they sort of have a name, but they take their names and just make them like, your name is now the property you're of Jake, because you're Jake's property now.
Yeah, and I feel like that book I assume had been out.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I think
like
it came out in the 80s or
70s?
something, didn't it?
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's been out for a while.
So I wonder,
Let me
because
double-check the
this
date.
actually does seem very similar in a lot of ways to that book, and I wonder if that was at all used as inspiration for...
Possibly.
Interesting.
If anybody knows, it's Ames.
If it was online anywhere, I didn't see it referenced. What I have seen online referenced is, like I said, I don't know how to feel about this episode because I don't know what this episode was trying to say.
Agreed.
Because the couple of reviews I read about this basically said, oh, this episode made me so angry, so angry. Why was Trip being such a moron? Archer is so right in everything he said to Trip. And, it's so good to see, like, the arguments on both sides about, like, Prime Directive, which doesn't exist yet, and why it's so important in future that we have it. And the whole time I'm thinking, but they asked for asylum.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that, you can't ignore that part of this episode. Because the Prime Directive that doesn't even exist yet is being broken.
Yeah.
So it's like, I can't tell if that was what the episode wanted, or if the episode wanted you to be on Trip's side, which feels like what it always wanted to me. In which case it's successful, because I felt like enraged by the end when Archer's yelling at Trip.
You know, it's interesting. It's like last week how we were saying that, a character having flaws makes them interesting, but Archer already had so many, I'm not sure why they bothered with
Yeah,
this.
you need to have some positive qualities.
Yeah, I think,
He likes dogs.
We haven't even seen Porthos in a week, so...
He did show up in this episode.
Did he? I didn't even
Right before Archer was informed about the suicide.
No. I didn't notice.
Yeah, I don't know what... Because, I don't know whose side the episode is on either.
Yeah, I'm trying to weigh this episode against something like Dear Doctor, where there's we can't get involved in the evolution of these people and all this thing because of non-existent prime directive and whatever else is going on, and Archer also making a fucking wrong decision that episode. But is there consistency, or is it just that whatever the option is, he will find the most fuck-upping thing to do?
Yeah, it's also the Cogenitor committing suicide at the end, seems to be, it's meant to be kind of a knock on what Trip had done. And now, yes, admittedly, he did kind of fuck up in that he isn't trained in this sort of thing.
Right, yeah.
There's probably a proper way to, I don't know, to do what he did. And there's that. But I don't know if it's necessarily meant to be, condemning everything he did, or just the fact that this is why even if you do want to change something, you have to be...
Go through the right channels.
Delicate, careful. Don't just do it on your own when it's not something you're trained in. It's so weird. If it wants me to be more pro Prime Directive, they failed. I'm more annoyed by it than ever.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely would have assumed throughout this episode that we're supposed to think that Trip is doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And then at the end...
But is he doing it well?
Well, he may or may not be doing it well. I don't think
but
that's...
it's still right.
It's still right.
Well, but nothing is done wrong until they turn them back over to the people after they asked for fucking asylum.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything else,
right.
I mean, should Trip have gotten involved? Okay, maybe not, right? Maybe it's kind of weird to decide that you're gonna fuck with someone's whole society. That said, if you met another humanoid creature, being, someone that looked, being, who seemed like a person who you've confirmed that has just as much capacity for intelligence and learning and, all the same feelings and shit as you do, but that they were being treated like a fucking
appliance.
Marital aid.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, who among us wouldn't
Yeah.
be like, what the fuck?
I would lose respect for Trip if he just was like, oh, that's cool, bye. Happen.
Yeah. I don't know. This is a fucking frustrating episode.
It really is.
And it was gross how, here's the thing. This is something I have difficulty with in today's world, because there are some people who prefer the pronoun it. And I cannot refer to a person as it. It just, and I feel bad, but I can't do it. And as soon as that started happening in this episode, especially knowing that it wasn't the Cogenitor's choice, I was like, ooh.
Yeah, but I think that was deliberate. I think the writers wanted us to feel gross about that.
No doubt. I agree. I
think, before we started this, we were discussing sort of the proper way to refer to the Cogenitor with modern sensibilities, which is why we just settled on they. But, the discussions in 2002, 3, whenever we are right now, were a little different. So, what comes off a little insensitive now is Trip, it looks more like a she, is oh, God, for the time that's borderline progressive, I guess. But yeah, I think there was no question then that just they were trying to make you upset by having people refer to the Cogenitor as an it.
Well, and I think that having Trip use she pronouns was a choice to show that he was refusing to refer to the Cogenitor as it.
Yeah, I just think, they could have just gone with they.
Yeah, I just don't know if, as a gender-neutral singular pronoun, if they was in wide use.
I don't think it was, but, I'm sure the writers were aware of it as a concept and could have just had him go, they, that can mean. But, you gotta make allowances for the time, I suppose. Yeah. Yeah, no, I've been...
English teachers used to give you shit for using the singular they, though.
Yeah, what the fuck do they know?
Mm.
There's a great Saturday morning breakfast cereal comic that, mocks the fact that, they were making fun of modern grammarians being like, oh, kid asks a question, oh, can I do this? And it's like, oh, let's see what a bunch of 17th century shut-ins obsessed with Latin decided. So.
It's octopodes, and no one can tell me otherwise.
Mm-hmm. Grammarians are the most exhausting people.
Yeah,
I say this as an English major.
There's a couple rules I stand by, but mostly it's like, language is fluid.
Yeah, there's some basic stuff for comprehensibility.
But if you mistake hanged and hung, I will slap you in the face.
Well, as long as you're comprehensible, it's fine.
Yeah, I was ready because, I watched this episode when we did our Prime Directive blogtivity. Check it out on the Tumblr someplace. It's one of our better ones. And I just remember, because I watched this episode and thought to myself, okay, I can see being very angry at the end of this, but that seems to be its point.
Mm-hmm.
And now reading other people's synopses of it, it's like, I don't know if that was its point. Like, I know with something like The Outcast, you're supposed to also feel that same level of rage at the end, and that was its point.
Yeah.
Like, I have a non-binary friend who's a Star Trek fan.
Mm-hmm.
They watched The Outcast, utterly fucking hated it, because the episode forces Soren to go back to being a gender that wasn't the one that she chose.
Right.
And you're supposed to feel like that's the wrong move, but we couldn't do anything about it. And Riker was the one who was making all the choices on behalf of Soren. And I'm curious what my friend would think of this episode. I may reach out to them and ask.
Yeah, it's like I said, I think the end complicates it. In that it's like, wait, I'm supposed to be mad at the horrible aliens, not Trip, right? Right?
I don't know. I don't know what they actually want.
I mean, here's the thing. I am mad at the horrible aliens, not Trip. But I don't know if that's actually what the writers wanted.
I just kind of wonder if the writers thought, like, oh, Archer's such a great guy, and he's just doing such a great job out here in space, and he loves his crew.
You see him surfing?
Like, maybe they do think this is them adding a flaw. And maybe by 2003 sensibilities, he was a rad guy. I
don't know. I mean, I don't know how anybody could be watching this show and think that Archer is a remotely competent captain.
He's a dipstick.
Yeah. He just makes bad judgment call after bad judgment call the whole show.
I get you're making it up as you go along, but Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's when you surround yourself with very competent people. Oh, wait, the one competent person who's been making this argument you're going to utterly ignore and then scream at for being the only, ethical person on your crew?
Well, it's just because, Trip's just some old hayseed from
Florida.
And, we don't do it like that down here in Florida or Singapore.
Yeah.
Random.
I mean, yeah. Did they throw a dart at a map?
Maybe
no
so.
Idea. Weird.
I mean, there's nothing inherently wrong. It's just what a strange...
Think of another place on Earth.
Just have him say Earth and leave it at that. You didn't need two examples.
Yeah.
Such a strange line.
I mean, to Paul, it kind of makes sense why she's, very upset about this. Because Vulcans would definitely not get involved.
Well, they wouldn't have even called the guy, for Christ's sakes.
They must be also looking at this sun thing. Carry on.
And Phlox didn't care, because he's a little too open-minded. Just like, hey, whatever terrible things a culture do is fine by me.
I want to watch.
He would be. Yeah, I love the line he gives. Mating habits are personal. Except for me, Phlox. Let me show you my porn.
Except for me.
That was, oh God, before the episode got really just bleak, just like, I could tell you about it. No, that's okay. Pictures then. No.
It is interesting, though. So
come with me to my quarters.
Since this species requires a third gender to actually procreate, you, banging is no problem. And, they show that with Reed's new
date.
To be fair, we don't know who else can get pregnant by things, like in the Trip gets pregnant episode.
Yes, that's true. Reed now has space herpes. But I would notice something about that. So when she said that, it's customary on my world to have the dinner after the coitus. we never see a scene of them having dinner together. So I'm going to guess that she was none too impressed.
Turns out they're actually one of the few humanoid species in the fucking Alpha Quadrant that isn't compatible.
Oh,
Where
they
do
were
I put
compatible.
this?
Reed just...
It's like, I'm sorry, but what? Where do I... How does any of the... I'm gonna go.
If only you were the other type of mermaid. Woo, that one got Chris. Keelan's been trying to make a point.
Yeah, sorry.
Can I just say why I think this whole thing is especially ridiculous?
Sure.
Every single couple on that planet relies on a cogenitor to be able to make babies. What should actually be happening, if you're not going to treat them like your equals, is that they should be treated like fucking superiors. There is no way.
Put them on a pedestal.
Yeah,
Like legitimately though, you know, like if the only way you could reproduce, you would be, I mean, people would be having to like duke it out to get their favor, to like get their blessing on their
That's
trying
true.
to have a baby. Like they did it wrong. And maybe that just means that, I don't know what, maybe it's a later mutation. Like I don't know how you could get to this place
You feel like they'd be set up in
with
like
these rules and you know, like it's
like oracles in ancient Greece, just have little like temples for them and shit.
yeah, I don't see this being how this shakes out.
No, that's
Because
true.
every single person relies on them.
No, since there's so few of them.
Yeah, well, they would
That I
obviously
think-
have the disadvantage.
Yeah, that I think is the major factor. Is since there are only 3% of them,
Yeah, 3%.
and only one on this ship, it's easy to lock them in a room.
Maybe once upon a time there were more and something happened, some sort of disease that only affected the cogenitors somehow, or...
No, I think it's more likely that the rest of the people realized that they had them outweighed or outgunned, outmanned, and just decided to
Yeah. Your version would make for a
keep them down.
fun story, though.
I will say, like, as frustrating as this episode's conclusion was for me, and the fact that it's kind of left you in this spot of, like, disagreeing with the main protagonist's conclusion and the choice, I do have to say, for an Enterprise episode, this was pretty good in the sense of provoking thought and emotion.
Oh, definitely.
You know, like a lot of Enterprise episodes are like this one. Yeah, okay, this one is
Yeah, it's
sort
like,
of
this is more like these other episodes
Yeah.
or movies or this or that.
and this one is also not immune to that. I mean, obviously, The Outcast comes to mind.
But it's
Half a Life.
own
Half-Life, yeah.
like, I mean, there's, you know, yeah, all episodes with a moral sort of thing have a thing, but like this is have a thing, or a
thing
similarity. But you know, I feel like this one is new.
Yeah, exactly. I give them a lot of credit. I've complained about how creatively bankrupt this show sometimes feels, but this is original.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, and I feel like it focused on the wrong thing. Like what Half a Life did pretty well was focus on like Picard's sort of struggling with what to do with this with Timothy.
And with Luoxana, who's very vocal.
Well, like, yeah, exactly. Like,
can't
Luoxana
shut this woman up.
is on one shoulder saying, you can't let them do this. You know, and it, like, basically throws this whole relationship. I think the other thing that this episode, Cogenitor, adds to that dynamic is how technologically superior.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the thing about, like, in TNG, if Picard's like, no, Timothy can stay here, there's nothing that those people can do about it. Like, they said, they were like, oh, we will open fire. Picard could kick their ass, right?
Single-handedly.
Yeah, like the Enterprise could take them, and they would just leave and
Wallop them with their
never
saddle.
talk to this planet again. But in this show, I'm sure. Well, as we know, they have photon torpedoes.
Mm-hmm.
Among,
Oh, yeah,
I'm sure
that's true.
other better
They're very advanced.
advanced weaponry. So if they needed to, they could take out the Enterprise. I'm sure.
I mean, they don't even need to raise shields, probably, because
Yeah.
their ships can dive into suns.
Yeah. So it's there's that dynamic.
Which they never do bring up, you're right.
Which they never bring up, which would have been like the fact that they had set up that scene with Reed and and talking about the armaments. It would have been interesting, perhaps, if Archer had at least tried to do the right thing But the fact that he makes the decision to do the wrong thing off screen of all places.
He does that an awful lot.
Yeah.
He did the same thing in Dear Doctor, where he just learns that, I made the decision and it was right.
This one,
I'm patting myself on the back.
Worse. It's like T'Pol walking him down the hallway and like, I think you made the right choice before we even know what that choice is.
Which, here's the thing though, in this situation, if T'Pol said it's the right choice, you know what choice he just made. And sorry, T'Pol, you're wrong this time.
Yeah. When T'Pol says you made the right choice, you know you made the wrong choice.
You probably just got someone killed.
Yeah.
I mean, there have been many, many times where they didn't listen to Paul when they should have. One of the few times he does, he's wrong.
Yeah.
She's wrong. They're all wrong. Don't be friends with these people.
But they got cool ships.
Hey, let me go
I really like
surfing.
their video games.
Oh, they like our Shakespeare. Oh.
Well, the thing is, like, the captain seemed like a cool dude.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
liked
but he's
him.
still from this terrible, horrible culture
Oh,
that's
yeah,
awful.
yeah. I'm not saying that makes it okay. I'm just saying, like, I can understand why Archer was taken in by his coolness.
Yeah.
I also think, because the first thought that I would have is when Phlox is describing, because they don't actually examine the Cogenitor.
Yeah, Trip waves a wand over them and he's like, look, Phlox, check this out.
The Phlox is like, oh, it's probably like some kind of reproductive enzyme that they provide. It would be interesting if Phlox had like done the analysis and be like, I can synthesize that enzyme. There's no need for the Cogenitor. I can create some Cogenitor juice right here in the
That's
lab.
kind of fascinating.
Cogenitor juice.
I mean, call it something
Like-
else, but...
Like that adds a whole new layer because it's like, we can
Cogenitron.
Dr. Flox's baby tonic. Sorry, I had to say that. Go on.
We could potentially have like on one hand it's like, oh yeah, okay, we could potentially do away with this entire like slave race of people, but then what happens to them?
They
Like,
get integrated into society.
oh, that's the bright side. Like,
Yeah, I know.
because more likely than not, knowing how the rest of these people feel about cogenitors,
Yeah.
the real answer is
Let him die.
yeah, fired. They all get fired out of a cannon into the sun, which they can get close to, but probably not inside of.
Yeah. That's the thing, like, if they're so damn advanced, do you think they would have just made their own Dr. Flox's baby tonic?
Yeah, that's true. So
Smug
maybe
pricks.
baby tonic isn't actually a thing, but
And yet we keep talking about it.
because then you could have really felt
Strawberry flavor.
could have felt bad about them, or not bad about you could have felt like, oh man, these are really shitty people.
Mm.
Like, it's one thing if it's like a biological requirement. It's another thing if it's like, no, they're choosing to do this because they like it.
Yeah. God, that was...
Like the porters serving you meals, being forced to serve you meals in the mess hall, as FJ Rio says.
I thought though that was kind of an interesting the way, because he set that up. He set Archer
Yeah.
up with that line.
He did.
And it was an interesting way of putting it. Like, it's interesting when you don't understand a culture. So like maybe there is an element, we don't see it in the show, but maybe there is something else there that would make it seem better. I don't know.
No, I think he's just trying to defend his shitty culture.
Fair.
Like, I think he's just like, well, you don't understand us. It's like, how often you hear people say, you just don't get it? And it's just like, no, your views are just reprehensible. Like,
Yeah. If your
I've read up on it. You're still bad.
if your views are slavery good,
Yeah, there's no...
then you're wrong.
There's no nuance to that. There's no counter argument you can possibly make. That was something that really
Oh, the
pissed...
slaves liked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was one thing that really pissed me off, too, in John's little fucking rant. Like, oh, now there's a baby that's not going to be born. Oh, shut up, you pro-life ad fuck.
Yeah, no shit. Like, what was that super conservative anti-abortion garbage all of a sudden?
Right?
Like, I know that's not technically what it was, but it's like, now it can't even
I don't know.
have a
It
chance.
technically might have been exactly
Yeah.
what it was.
Well, but there wasn't actually.
What if it was born a cogenitor,
Yeah, it's
John?
like- it's almost more like a yeah, I don't even know what it. But yeah, it was just like fuck off, John. Fuck you. Ugh, jackass. I've been waiting for a long time to call him a fucking dork.
I wonder. I'd be interested in what Scott Bakula thinks of this episode, because
He thinks it's great.
Think so?
I'm just kidding. I have no idea. I hope not.
Yeah, because it's one thing what other people have thought about it, and I'd actually be interested in what the writers themselves,
Mm.
Oh, yeah.
what their perspective.
How much do you
was.
regret writing this piece of
Well,
shit?
we're just like, what did they want us to think, because it is confusing in the end. Because you would, historically in Star Trek, you're supposed to think that the captain did the right thing.
Right.
But
Even
I
in
don't.
Dear Doctor somehow.
Well, but we've already spent time, with Captain Benjamin Warcrime Sisko, so maybe we were,
Well, I was about to say, they either, historically, unless they say otherwise.
Yeah, exactly.
There have been times where they're just like, no, you fucked up.
Yeah, it's either you're supposed to think that the captain did the right thing, or they go out of their way to let you telegraph that no, the captain's doing something bad now, and you should recognize that.
Delete that personal log.
Yeah, when Trip takes all the responsibility himself, says, "Oh no, Captain, you're not responsible at all." It's like, but he's not. He's the one that did not let them have asylum.
Yeah.
It was his fault ultimately. You guys can share blame all you want.
Yeah, please.
But no, we're supposed to feel like, oh, Trip, you did it again.
Again.
Oh, he got knocked up
I feel
again.
like this episode just really glossed over what it should have spent more time on, which was
Reed and
Reed boning down with that random alien.
Yes.
Or Velo, rather.
I don't know. I just think that maybe there was no point in having more conversations with Kike and his wife, but I don't know. I feel like there was probably a future version of this with Picard or somebody as the captain would have resulted in a conversation that maybe came to a compromise of some kind. It's like, okay, we recognize that the cogenitors are required for procreation, but do you have to treat them like shit? Could you maybe let them read and give them their own room and a fucking name, and maybe your culture gets a little better?
I am just comfortable knowing we apparently never, ever reestablish friendship with them.
Yeah, if we told them that, they would be like, no, fuck you guys. We don't need any of your crap. You're beneath us. We're already doing fine. We can fly into suns. We have all this great technology. We have really spicy food, evidently. You guys go away. We're all right.
Here's my headcanon part 2 of this episode that we don't see. Somebody on the crew of this ship, once they get back to their home world, is telling their buddies, oh my god, you wouldn't imagine what happened. There was this cogenitor on our ship, and some bozo from some other ship taught it to read, and then when it got so bummed out, it offed itself, and then that rumor spreads throughout society, and then
a piece of the action.
A cogenitor hears it and is like, wait a minute. The only thing they got from that is a cogenitor learned how to read?
We can read.
We can fucking read?
It's that EMH book about how we're being treated badly all over again.
Or the trills.
Author, right?
Or the trills, we can't let people know that joining is possible for everybody.
Yeah, that it isn't just 5% of the population, it's 70% or something.
And then there's a mass uprising of cogenitors.
Everyone's stealing trills.
And
I had a similar hope myself. Because then how do you deal with an uprising of such a vital group of people there are so few of?
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's fascinating.
You can't just kill them all, because it's if they realize what a vital resource they are, it gets to Caitlin's earlier point, maybe they can get a bit more leeway.
Or maybe the society totally fucks itself and goes extinct.
I'm also happy with that.
That would be fine.
Fuck them. Before we move on, one very important, not related to the plot thing that got on my last nerve.
Aesthetics.
So they do know how to do moody, darkish lighting.
When was there moody, darkish lighting?
A couple times, but especially in the cafeteria. I always forget the word. Mess hall.
Sure.
Because they wanted to emphasize that they're right next to a sun, so everything was kind of lit in a weird, from the side. There were a lot of shadows in a way there normally aren't. Which means they could have had a darker Rue Repente a few weeks ago.
But then they'd have to have been right next to a star.
Yeah, I noticed because it reminded me very much of the weirdly moody lighting they had in all of Generations. Where they were just oh god, we're a movie, we can do mood lighting, and every scene was lit the same weird dark way. Dark. So they overdid it. But this, I was oh, it's like that Generation. Wait a second. You could have done this. Shakes my fist.
I also felt like they spent more time than necessary, and by time necessary I mean 0 time necessary, on the shuttle with Archer and
It's like bodyboarding, Archer.
Yeah,
this
that's
is
weird.
called nothing like
maybe
bodyboarding,
you could have
friend.
used one scene of them, but like it was kind of, I don't know, the whole "Can I fly the ship, Dad?"
Like, you don't hire Tomalak and then not give him stuff to do.
That's true. But it did just seem to take away
It
from
was
the
strange.
other more important elements of the episode.
Well, see, I'm okay with it because it just
Like Reed
emphasizes
banging.
it emphasizes what to me is my point, which is the only real reason he's mad is because he's embarrassed in front of his new father.
Mm.
Yeah, so I know we like seeing Tomalak. I know we like seeing Kike. Did you guys also recognize Velo, the girl who was hitting on Reed a lot?
I did not.
Was that? Let me take a couple guesses.
Good.
Melora.
No.
No. Okay.
Was Melora the girl that had to do anti-gravity?
The wheelchair, yeah.
That episode pissed me off again when I rewatched it recently.
It's an upsetting episode.
I was so mad.
It's supposed to be. It's one of those episodes that's supposed to be upsetting, though.
Well, it is.
Okay, give me a hint. What series?
Voyager.
Voyager. Oh. Okay, I'm not gonna get it.
She a Borg queen?
Close.
Really?
She's a Borg mama.
Oh!
Erin Hansen.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Oh, look at that.
See, I didn't remember that character even getting screen time.
Yeah, she had a little...
Aw.
Speaking of Borg...
Speaking of Borg, holy crap, we found the segue! Hooray!
Oh, I thought maybe that's why you saved it for
No,
now.
it wasn't. But oh my god, that's so absolutely perfect because we're moving on to Regeneration. It's a dark and cold night, as it always is in the Arctic Circle.
Sometimes it's a dark and cold day in the Arctic
Well,
Circle.
half the time.
Mm.
Half the seasons, it's a dark and cold night. And shockingly, the polar bears still exist in the future, which is nice to know.
Well, they make reference to it, but for all we know, it could be a joke.
Oh, sad. No, polar bears forever.
They brought them back via Jurassic Park technology.
So we meet some human scientists in the Arctic, Drake, Rooney, and Moninger.
They had names?
They had names. And they're digging around in the Arctic snow, which is, I guess, their job for some reason. They're just digging around, and they find, oh my god, wreckage of Borg sphere and some intact Borgs.
I don't think they were there to excavate the wreckage. The wreckage. It wasn't like
They were building a snowman like Mayweather and Reed did.
Like,
Yeah, no, there's some... We'll get to it. There's some very subtle work done in this one. I gotta give them credit for it.
Cool. Well, before we get there, let me tell you all the other stuff that happens. So they find some Borgs, and we spend a lot of time with these scientists, which is kind of fascinating to me, as they're figuring out what these Borg things are, what all these random bits of Borg sphere were, because these people have no idea what the hell Borgs are. That's not in the history books, even though Zephyr Cochrane tried as hard as he fucking could. And
old drunk Zeph
And,
going on about zombie robots again.
At a commencement address at, I think, Princeton, they said.
invited him. What a madman. So actually, fuck damn it, even though we don't think these Borgs are going to be dangerous at all, oh no, they come back to life as they usually do. Assimilate everyone, grab a ride in, I think it's called Arctic One, their shuttle pod that can somehow go warp. Don't fucking ask. But the Borgs, take over, they assimilate these people, they're also Borgs, they fly off, and we alert Archer, because that's the first person we could think of to ask, hey, guys, the humans found some stuff in the Arctic Circle, and it took off, and it's heading your way, and could you go check it out for us? Thanks, bye. Hugs and kisses, love Forrest. So Archer decides, okay, let's go find this thing. Oh, I hear some Tarkalian vessel of some kind, full of tea, is asking for help because they're getting assimilated a lot. Let's see. It's probably these people again. Let's go find them. We go find this Tarkalian vessel. Is that the right word?
Yeah, Tarkalian.
Tarkalian. Okay, good. We find them. Oh God, how did all of this work? This is what happens when I don't take the notes.
They were being attacked by the Borgs.
Yes, they were being attacked by Borgs. We go over and try to save them somehow. We've discovered they're Borgs now. Phlox is trying to save them, and he discovers, they're full of all these nanopod things. Nanoborgs. That's probably fine. Like I said earlier, where's my note? You should be open-minded about fucked up cultures. They probably just really liked contaminating themselves with nanopods. It's all good. Oh shit, they just came back to life and attacked me. And my poor security officer who never gets a fucking name.
But hey, he lives.
He did live. No one dies, ever. Except Borgs now. Holy shit, guys. So Phlox got himself nano-probed in the neck a little bit.
Oh,
so he
God.
knows what's happening to him now. And he's going to try to stop and cure it and all this thing. So he's being kept under strict gun watch. Because they know, like, and he could turn at any moment. Meanwhile, we are chasing down a vessel that is full of people who could be turning into Borgs. All the time never knowing the word Borg, but that's fine. No one pays attention to that. We track them down. We beam some people over there. They beam some Borgs over here. We're all attacking everybody at once. We blew out those Tarkalians into space because they were trying to take over Enterprise. Dicks. And Archer had a big sad about it because he thought he could save them, and that was pretty good. So finally we blow up some Borg. We get the ones off our ship again. And said, well, I guess none of them were worth saving, but good thing we killed them all. Oh, wait, the ship is still trying to attack us? Fucking nuke it. So they do. And Archer continues to have a sad, but Phlox is okay because he cured himself somehow because he's Phlox.
He has some radiation.
No one passed down this information about how to handle Borg attacks in the future, but that's fine. And he tells everyone, oh no, guys. It's the ending of conspiracy. The mother bug translated transported our location into space, and they're on their way.
But you don't understand.
In 200 years, we'll get right on it.
This is a bootstrap paradox, because if it's these Borgs that alerted the Borgs in the Delta Quadrant about Earth, but these Borgs are from the attack on Earth from First Contact.
Yes, it's like I've come back in time to hand myself a hat so that I can, in the future, I can go back in time and hand myself a hat.
But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, Jake, though. Even if maybe the scientists didn't know exactly what they were looking for, Starfleet had sent them there to look for it. Because why else would Starfleet be so interested in this? Why would the Admiral go personally to check out the base?
And it wasn't even, they haven't checked in 3 days. 3 days, they could just be like taking a nap. It's fucking the Arctic, it's cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and also So we know that Zephram Cochrane had been talking to people about the Borgs for a long time.
Yep.
And like,
what an idiot.
And while most people probably thought he was just a crazy drunk man,
He was.
which he was, somebody may have been taking him seriously. And when they discovered this wreckage in the Arctic, they were like, oh, this kind of matches up with what Zeph was saying with the...
Starfleet's been looking for that shit for years now.
Yeah.
They knew exactly what they were looking for. Again, I don't know if the scientists knew exactly, but there's definitely some not the episode conspiracy going on here. They were trying to get themselves some cool future robot tech, and it bit them in the ass.
No, the neck.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of like what was it? Like Alien.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they like the company was
Yeah,
there was
you
a
sent
secret,
us here on purpose.
There was a secret alternate mission.
Yep. No, that's exactly what I think was happening. I couldn't remember if they said it outright or not, but again, having the Admiral go in person to this little fucking base, looking as worried as he did, it's like, oh man, that's subtle. Interestingly, whether or not to tell people about the Borg was used as the origin of the mirror universe in a Star Trek novel.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, Zephram deciding to tell the Vulcans about what had happened is what leads to the evil militaristic future. Because basically they're preemptively terrified of the Borg. And
So they're building up their military and going nuts with it. That's interesting.
Yeah.
About that predestination paradox that somehow accidentally gets introduced. I've seen the opposite argument in that this is actually now a parallel timeline, effectively. And that's why in TNG, when we first meet the Borg, we're not like, wait a minute, these things, we've heard about them. Phlox made a cure.
Well, I also wouldn't. Well, okay, so a couple things. I actually, that's sort of my take on it, but I'll get to that.
Oh, good.
I don't know that they necessarily would. Like, this is one mission that took place 200 years before the Borgs. Like, would anybody have known on the Enterprise D Like, is somebody gonna be like, huh, this is oddly familiar. I think I read something about this.
No, they put a file with a 200 years from now
Yes.
open date that will automatically pop up in their emails and be like, read this.
But then it got dumped as spam. But yeah, it feels like a thing you classify and forget happened.
Yeah, exactly.
By the time it's an issue.
Yeah, but to the other point though, I do think that this is probably this being an alternate timeline makes a lot of the things make more sense, and especially if you're canon crazy, if you're a cannoneer. I remember one of the things that a lot of people always complained about was how futuristic Enterprise looks compared to TOS, which is stupid.
People.
Which I agree is stupid.
It is stupid.
But if you say that the events of First Contact led to a timeline split and accelerated the pace of technological development in some way, you could say that maybe that all of Enterprise is in the First Contact timeline.
Yeah, I think you suggested this years ago,
and
that First Contact might have created a bit of a...
And then you could, by that same thing, you could say that Discovery and Strange New Worlds is also in the First Contact timeline.
Yeah.
Potentially. Because, again, they don't really match up with what we see in other contemporary series.
Yeah, which means there's actually now the Prime timeline, the First Contact timeline, the Kelvin timeline, the Mirror Universe, that one where Worf didn't win that contest.
The one where he did but came in second. The one where he didn't show up and got like a letter in the mail saying, "Where were you, asshole?" Got the participant trophy.
There's Whale Probe destroys Earth timeline.
Yes.
Whale Probe doesn't destroy Earth timeline.
Yeah. The other canon complaint that I've seen is when the Borgs like announced themselves to the Enterprise with the, you will be assimilated, resistance is futile, this is our favorite tagline thing. They don't say we are the Borg, which they usually do, but they don't always do, actually. So.
But also, maybe just the transmission, maybe the opening just didn't make it for...
Oh, yeah.
Hoshi hadn't hit
Hoshi
play
wasn't
fast
doing her
enough.
damn job. Damn it, Hoshi.
What else is new? They got that other guy that was helping out while she was having that nightmare. And they,
No, that was only a man from her dream.
Her dream man. Well, someone find out if he's actually on the ship and see if he can figure this out, because
Oh,
she
God,
obviously
was
can't.
this the episode where they really fucking hosed Mayweather?
Oh, gosh, probably. No, was it
the last one?
It was one of these.
He didn't appear at all in Cogenitor.
In one of them...
Not
so
even
it must
on the
be this-
bridge?
I think he appeared in the background.
Okay.
There's a moment in one of them, probably this one, where
I think it was this one, yeah, I think you're right.
where, he gives an order to Mayweather, who gives a meaningful look, doesn't say anything, and then he sits down and where is he even going to say aye from off? No. No, Anthony Montgomery was literally there to make a face.
Oh, the poor thing.
He had a couple of lines in this one, so I think it might have been the last one.
Okay.
He had lines, holy shit.
Like a couple, like aye, Captain type lines. One eye is sufficient.
Yeah, I was shocked on Hoshi's behalf that they sent her in with the food for Phlox. And he says, I see you got a phase pistol. And she's like, fuck yeah, I'll use it too. I'm not scared. I should be scared.
Well, we know her aim's gotten better. She taught those farmers how to shoot.
Yeah, but this after that big attack with the, not Nausicaans, I've already forgotten, Tarkalians?
Yeah.
And knowing that phaser pistol doesn't always work on them? Because this is when Reed is still souping up their rifles.
Well, it's also, again, we don't know we don't have all the information. Presumably...
They want to get Hoshi killed.
Well, there's also another security guy there, so...
Barely.
He already proved himself completely ineffective the first time the Borgs attacked, but...
He had like one line.
Does ouch count as a line? That'd be two.
Yeah.
Here's what's dumb, though, about the stupid ending.
Oh no, they know we're here.
The Borg
ending.
Get alerted to them we know that Borg timeline has gotten very complicated anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But initially it was just Q through the Enterprise at them. But then it turns out also they might have read the Hanson's emails.
Oh yeah, the Hansons were first.
Or maybe that the signal the Borg had tried to send with the interplexing beacon did get through a little, like...
There's lots of ways the Borg could have found us. I mean,
They already knew we existed.
Well, we also are pretty sure, I think, that it was the Borg that were attacking the stations along the neutral zone.
Yes.
In the neutral zone.
In the neutral zone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean,
the Borgs were in the neighborhood.
Yeah, they already knew. Like, you didn't need to add this dumb. Also, the holographic bullets joke was dumb.
It was dumb, but it was cute.
I guess.
It was just like, oh, haha, I got it.
This episode's already doing enough first contact stuff.
It's a lot of first contact stuff.
And they did it well for a TV show. It was fun.
I thought there was ample, like, a real, like, I don't know. I thought the tension in this episode was really well done.
I think so, too, yeah. It was treated like an action horror.
It was
like The Thing.
It was very cinematic.
Yeah.
There was they scored it very differently than a normal episode. I felt like the high tension kind of music was really well done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all in all, I just thought that this was a higher quality production than we've seen.
That's the thing.
Enterprise in a while.
I'm kind of annoyed because it's a pretty good episode, but it's like because you brought in something old again.
We know these things work.
Yeah.
It's like last season when they brought in Renee version 1. They brought in Jeffrey Combs and friends. And
they
Ethan
name dropped the
Phillips.
Binars even for fun.
There's a
I love
Binar
them.
reference.
Just.
Yeah, I read there's a good note. Where's my note? Braga had originally refused to feature the Borg on Enterprise, calling it a, quote, cheap trick.
Mm-hmm.
But then they showed him this script, and he liked the concept of, like, okay, this is an interesting way of getting the Borgs on here that doesn't sound as convoluted as, say, Acquisition.
Yeah, it's not as convoluted, but it's still a cheap trick, let's be honest.
Of course. But they did a good episode.
No, they did, but it is sad.
It was styled in a good way.
Yeah, it was good, like it was properly tense. I think, this might be the longest we have ever gone in any Star Trek ever in an episode without seeing one of the main cast.
That whole intro.
Yeah, like it was a while before we cut to Enterprise.
Yeah, it was the whole first act. I felt like.
Which I think that was very good story.
It was. It's like I'm surprised they did it. Like I feel like something even the better shows normally we gotta see one of the main people by like 3 minutes tops. You know.
Yeah, and this is the whole first act is just in Arctic area.
Yeah.
With our science friends.
Yeah. I appreciated a little bit that they also, although they did bring up a lot of first contact stuff, they did not explicitly like show us a previously on with like the ship blowing up or something.
Yeah.
I kind of expected it. That is a good point.
Like we are like the fact you're kind of left to yourself to figure out, oh, the Borgs there must be the ones that were on the Borg sphere that crashed.
Yeah.
Right.
What's interesting too is like you realize we are of course viewing this as viewers of Star Trek. Archer might be thinking this is some temporal Cold War bullshit. Because all he heard is people from the future showed up.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what the fuck the Borg are.
Why didn't they lean into that?
Why didn't he go check Daniels' magic?
That's right.
They forget it exists. Or they should have taken their Suleiman cell ship down. Oh, wait.
Well, see, then he would have just read about the Borg and no, that's a whole different thing. But yeah, it's interesting to think of. Like, from his point of view, this might be in the back of his mind. Is like, oh, fuck, when's Daniels going to show up? Ruin my day again. But we, as the viewers, kind of don't think about that. We're like, ah, yes, I saw First Contact.
Yeah, and if I didn't, Archer just read this Zephram Cochrane thing that really kind of explains it for us a little bit.
I also appreciated how, because again, they're fully, the writers are expecting that we, the audience, know what the Borg are and know the deal. Yeah.
You get a hard on when we see them.
Yeah, they know who they're doing the show for, but it's fun as a viewer, I think, to watch the Enterprise crew kind of fumble their way through learning about the Borg.
Yeah.
From like not quite understanding what it is, thinking it's some kind of virus or something.
Immediately, every single time they see one, they're like, "Oh, there's no reason we should think it's harmful, guys." Oh no.
Yeah.
And then the audience laughs because we know.
Yeah. Well, it's even you realize that Phlox being kind of chill. They mention, it's easy to miss, but they mention the Arctic scientists when they're analyzing the bodies. When it's like, well, I know Denobula's been kind of fucking with nanobots. So that's why he would look at it especially and just be like, oh yeah, nothing to be afraid of. Nanobots are normal. So like for him, it's not even being open-minded. This is just something he does sometimes, or his people do. So yeah.
Yeah, I actually give Phlox, because normally I don't, when Phlox is on screen, I'm like growl, grumble and things. His scene with Hoshi was interesting because like he was telling her, no, don't get close to me. Stay over there, because
Mhm.
I don't trust this. And then he tells Archer later, like, if I turn, you put me down.
Yeah.
And that's some good stuff right there. So
Yeah.
I do give him some credit for that.
Yeah. I also feel like maybe the issue with the Phlox cure is like he had to take a huge dose of some very specific kind of radiation. It's possible not all species could survive it.
What's interesting is that the radiation that he did was Omicron radiation, which was the same
Oh,
radiation
yeah.
from the previous episode.
That's true.
The Cogenitor ship.
Oh, yeah. Interesting.
So apparently there's an inoculation against that radiation that you could give somebody, and then.
But then
A radiation inoculation.
Well,
you
the
say?
Borg nanoprobes assimilate the
Inoculation.
inoculation.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So if Trip got it, if Trip had been injected by nanoprobes, he would have had invincible nanoprobes.
No.
Or he just would have been invulnerable.
Mm.
They just stick him in the neck. He's like, that tickled. Oh, dang, like a bad hickey.
Rude.
I had a date tonight.
With his right hand. Here's a note.
Maybe his left hand.
So Bonita, I'm going to say Friederici, but I'm not sure if that's at all right. She played Rooney, one of the human scientists. John Billingsley's real life wife.
Oh,
Oh.
neat.
And he had suggested to the casting team people that she should play all of his wives. But that didn't happen. She auditioned for this, and Braga and Berman, I guess, like pretended they didn't know her in the casting room, so that they wouldn't appear biased. And she did her own stunt because they didn't want to have to build another Borg costume, because already the one she was wearing was the one Roxanne Dawson wore in Voyager.
Oh, funny.
She was fine.
Yeah. Like I said, I recognize the random blonde scientist. I looked him up. The only thing I possibly could have known him from is he's a member of Griff Tannen's gang. Not Griff. Buford Tannen's gang in Back to the Future 3.
Is he the one that says, "But we were going to rob the Pine City stage"?
I think so. Or the one that said, I think Buford's going to jail, but that might be the same one.
There was also talk of following up on this episode in season 5 of Enterprise, which we all know didn't happen, to potentially bring back Alex Kriege, and she would be a Starfleet medical technician who would make contact with the Borg, and then that is where Borg Queen came from.
Oh,
That's
that
over
would
in
have
the
been
pudding.
dumb.
Yeah, no, don't do that. I mean, I like Alex Kriege,
Don't do that.
but that's you get one.
Yeah.
You get one little sneaky Borg episode in your prequel series. Stop it.
Mm-hmm.
Nope, Ferengi next week.
We've already had Ferengi, though. And they sucked.
All right, well, let's have... who else shouldn't we have met yet?
Cardassians.
There we go.
I think they could have done, because the thing is, Cardassians are like neighbors. They're not that far away from Earth, I don't think.
Well, we know that they're sharing a border with the Federation in the 24th century. We don't know...
True.
And by then, you've got much faster ships. It's a little vague as to where they are.
Well, so they're close to Beta Z, evidently, because that's one of the first places that they invade during the war.
That's true.
And Beta Z, I assumed, was not that far off.
Yeah. Then again, it turns out from Enterprise, Kronos is super close, which I never would have assumed.
Mm.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I think my impression is that, like, Kronos, Vulcan, and Andoria are all, like, very nearby Earth.
Yeah.
There are definitely lots of star charts, but none of them are canon. So
Yeah.
good luck. Now you'll have to remind me, because I've lost track, or is this the first time Archer is definitively responsible for people's deaths?
Where he, like, ordered them to blow the Borgs out of the airlock?
Yeah, the airlock blow.
I mean, he's had them blow ships up before, hasn't he?
Has he? That's the question.
I mean, he's definitely had some Suliban ships blown up. And I'm sure some Suliban got killed that time he had Reed give him a bomb and the pilot. But yeah, this might be the first time he didn't just have a ship blown up from a distance kind of thing.
Yeah, open the door and blow them into space is a little more personal than
like even
we're in battle.
Even the other week in Canamar, probably with the prison transport ship that was going into a.
Yeah, he tried to save that guy.
Yeah, he was trying desperately to save that guy. That was apparently not his fault.
Yeah, and even this, like, this is
like the show kills very few people, but Archer kills even less.
Yeah.
This seemed to be, as you know, it was difficult for him to make that choice.
Yeah.
Because on one hand, it's like, oh, the Tarkalians are not going to be pleased when we called them and told them we're bringing, we're going to try to save their colleagues. But also, he was left with zero choice because they were fucking with the ship.
Yeah. They were going to die either way.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and also, like, just those Borg getting killed even is, like, that's probably the highest level extra we've had directly shot by a Starfleet officer. Like, that... We've kind of sort of got a body count now in a way that is a little more direct than it has been the few times where we've joked about people have died.
Yeah, I mean, when he and Reed go to the Borg ship, they're just taking out Borgs left and right, though.
Yeah, but they specifically do get the, like, researchers we gotten to semi-know, sort of.
Yeah.
So that's...
Right. He does, when Rooney comes in, we are Borg, we will assimilate you. And they shoot the hell out of Rooney. And he looks and says, this one was one of the human researchers from the Arctic thing.
Yeah.
But my scanner isn't reading her as human anymore. So how did he recognize her? From a photo?
Sure, let's go with that.
Phlox, this looks like your wife.
Reed. Captain, you killed Borg Rooney. She was a Borg?
Reed was so happy this episode.
Oh, he got to shoot so many things
And
upgrade the
beefed up his guns.
phasers.
Yeah, he loved it.
Pew pew.
he's like, he's just got to remember to turn them back down, because there's no way they can shoot at that extra beefed up level more than a few times before just exploding in your hand.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and I love, like, last episode we were yelling at T'Pol for being wrong. This episode, the first thing she says is, Archer, you're not going to be able to save those people. I would advise destruction. I'm like, there she is. There's my girl.
That's like we said, that's the early days Spock approach. Fucking kill it.
There's no going back.
I mean, she didn't have the background, but she was right. That's it. And as the audience, we know it's like, no, John, she's right. They can barely de-assimilate people in the 24th century. Your fucking bear skins and stone tools ass won't be able to manage.
Yeah, maybe you can salvage some of the tech.
That's a bad idea. Because any bit of the tech could come back to life at any time and fuck your shit up.
Mm-hmm.
That's why all the stuff from the Arctic is in a very deep vault somewhere under Starfleet headquarters.
Right next to the Ark of the
about.
Covenant.
Yeah, cement that thing in.
The Ark of the Covenant, Data's head.
Just a bunch of them.
Yeah.
They talk to each other.
And one Bender head. And went through time and dimensions. Shut up. I can't do Bender at all. Wasn't even going to try. Because I knew it just wouldn't work.
We can't all be John DiMaggio.
No, that's true.
Damn it. He's trying so hard.
Here's to
No, I
you, John DiMaggio.
Bite my shiny golden metal ass.
Yeah.
Is that... Do we have anything else?
I got nothing.
I think we got something to talk about.
200.
Let's give him something to talk about.
Yeah.
What
Let's
about
do it.
Dax?
Oh,
there you
wait,
go.
I did have one last
Damn
thing.
it! My beautiful segue.
Sorry.
No, my terrible segue.
There is one thing. There's one thing in this show that makes sense that does not work in almost any other Star Trek. Enterprise really is the only Starfleet ship in the area.
It's true.
Pretty much ever.
Yes. And it's certainly the only one that's capable of reaching because
Yeah.
it's the fastest one.
Like in this one, it was just like, we're the only ship around. And it's like, oh fuck, that actually makes sense for once.
Yeah, we asked the Vulcans and they didn't pick up.
I mean, this does seem like the kind of thing that maybe it would have made sense to involve the Vulcans.
Maybe they weren't here.
Zombie monsters are
Yeah,
stealing a ship.
how many Vulcan ships are just around? They should also always be in
They're
there.
around when the story calls for it.
Yeah.
They probably just have like do not disturb mode on most of the time. Like whatever your stupid little human problems are, we have more important shit to
They
deal
check.
with.
Oh, it's Archer. We're not home.
Exactly what I was about to say. Like, sir, we're getting a hail. Who is it? Archer. Oh my god.
Oh, I'm gonna send him to voicemail. Don't hit send him to voicemail. He'll know you did it. Just let it ring out.
Tell him I'm dead.
Might have been interesting if instead of a Tarkalian ship, it had been a Klingon ship that they encountered, and we had some Klingon Borgs. I feel like we don't get enough of those.
That's double makeup.
We got Korok, but that's about it.
Oh, I liked Korok. Read my fanfic.
You know what's like Klingons?
Dax?
Yeah!
Dax loves
Dax
Klingons.
loves
Thank you,
Klingons.
Jake. You found the segue. So we're going to talk about all the, mostly Jadzia, maybe a little Ezri, maybe a little Curzon, for those of you who like Curzon. Because this week is our Dax Spotlight week, and boy, she sure is Trill.
I'm gonna start.
Wow. We're going with best moments from Dax.
Yep. Okay, I gotta do it. I'm gonna give one to Ezri.
Whoa!
I got a good one for Ezri.
Oh, good.
Let's see if they're the same.
I just felt like she was gonna get left out, so I found one for her. When she did the maybe questionable choice of calling on Duran to help her in a murder mystery,
Oh, interesting.
she did manage to resist his whisperings.
And she did solve the murder.
She did. So, was that the best plan? No. But, you know what? She resisted him, and we know she's having issues even, separating herself from Jadzia. So, good for her.
Yeah.
Good for her. Nothing good for her. She's, probably one of the few Starfleet people who isn't just shitty about Ferengi. And, her and Quark are buddies, and...
They play Tongo all the fucking time.
Yeah, and her being I'm not going to be your friend anymore is part of what convinces him to not be a weapons dealer. And then I've got two. Which one am I going to go with? She was willing to permanently die for love in Rejoined.
Yay.
Yeah, I'll go. So I'm going to throw out... I had the Field of Fire murder mystery thing, but I had a fourth, so I'm gonna swap it in.
Okay.
Just so we have a little more variety. Although I did,
Even though we didn't like Field of Fire as an episode.
No, it was a good thing it was a good
something
character
for Ezri
thing to do.
Yeah.
But I'll throw in a different Ezri moment.
Okay.
And say helping Garrick with his crippling anxiety in Afterimage.
Oh, word.
And that was interesting in that it also helping Garrick helped herself because that's when she figured out that she wanted to stay on DS9. So there you go. Ezri for you. I also said, and I'm not taking off her relationship with Lenara Khan.
That's a great episode.
In Rejoined. Yeah, and just, everyone loves a little girl on girl action, so, there you go. And then I'm going to say the epic team up with Kor, Koloth, and Kang in Blood Oath.
That was the one I decided to bump off because someone else will definitely say it.
It was very high on my list. It was number 2. It would have gotten said. But how about Caitlin?
I also said Blood Oath.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty cool that Jadzia decided to still keep her Blood Oath in spite of being a different person.
She looks great in that Klingon garb too.
She does. Let's see. Jadzia fucks. I don't have a specific... Well, no, actually, I do. And actually, I can link it to a different one, too.
Ooh.
She, the one where she has an initiant, it might be called the initiant, I don't know. But she...
No, it's called Playing God.
Yeah, it is?
Yes. Well, she has an initiate?
Yeah. That's season 2?
Something like that.
Something like that.
And she treats him like shit.
No, not at first, really, I think. Well, anyway, I think she actually ultimately is good to him because she gives him really good advice and helps him out. So I would say being, not letting herself be as awful to her initiate as Curzon was to her is a good thing. But the other part was she bangs that wrestling guy or says they're just wrestling, but I don't really believe it. So I would say Jadzia fucks is just a overarching third good thing.
Well, and
also Captain Baudet.
With the transparent
skull.
Oh, yeah.
So hot.
And Morn, apparently.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And Morn.
And let's see, the guy from Meridian, which I mean, you feel how you want about it, but they did fuck, and obviously Worf, and
well, and it's impressive too, is for the time, it wasn't presented as a thing to be looked down upon. She was just a woman who enjoyed fucking, and it wasn't presented as bad, which is still super common, but especially in the fucking 90s.
Oh, it's okay. She has a male worm in her belly. Which sounds
Actually,
gross when you say it out loud.
The worm isn't gendered, but I think it's that she has Curzon's memories.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Curzon is long depicted as someone who fucks.
Oh my god, he was a horny prick.
All right, good choices so far. Let me add a couple more. I loved that in The Sword of Kalas, she was the only adult in the room when Worf and Kor were being dicks about that fucking sword. I thought that was some good Jadzia moments right there.
It was.
Speaking of her and Klingons, she also helps Quark woo Grilka, which is very cute, and I love that.
Forgot about that.
And then she bangs Worf, but mostly though helping Quark because she's friends with Quark. She's the one not racist against Ferengi.
Yeah. Well, I don't know that Odo necessarily hates all Ferengi. He just doesn't trust Quark, which
is actually loving Ferengi.
And also, let's be honest, in this case, is actually based on years of evidence, not just a knee-jerk reaction. Don't trust Quark.
No, I put this one down as one of my tops because I just finished reading that Ben Sisko book you guys gave me.
Yeah.
And
you finished it?
I did.
Was it great? Was it good?
The first half is great.
Okay.
The second half is just rehashing Deep Space Nine.
Oh.
Yeah.
The ending is weird, but the first half is great.
Right.
He brings up that it was Jadzia who discovered the wormhole. And I was like, ooh!
Well, they were together when they discovered they were both in the runabout.
But didn't she, find it or something?
Let's go with that. I like it.
I'm gonna give
her.
Jadzia credit because
Yeah.
that's what Ben
Good for her.
Sisko did.
Yeah,
And I think that's cool.
it is. So I expanded the remit a bit from Abads.
Okay, expanded
Did you
the
go
remit
for
to Curzon?
to other Dax?
Other Daxes doing bad things.
Duran Dax, psychotic murderer. Curzon Dax, initially not letting Jadzia into the program because he wanted to bone her.
Yeah,
what
that
an
was
asshole!
gross.
Yeah, he sucks.
Oh, Varad.
And an actually bad Jadzia moment. Jadzia,
Bad.
you were gonna throw everything away for a guy you'd known for 10 minutes in Meridian?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And the worst part too is that was I feel like that was after they decided not to have her just be boy crazy like she was in the first season or two.
So boy crazy.
She was a more mature now, and then she's just
still boys.
I'm gonna just it seems weird, right? Last one I was she was ready to let the symbiote die, but that was to get back with someone she had loved and known previously. This is a dude she's known for 3 days. What?
All right, so I got this is more just, I don't know, not speaking in her own defense.
Yep, in Dax.
That's
a good one.
When she's on trial for a murder that Curzon didn't commit.
Yeah.
And she knows Curzon didn't commit because she was Curzon.
And she's just and even though she knows that it's just she's protecting some broad's honor or something.
Yeah,
was
basically.
really why.
Yeah.
She lets Sisko do all the talking, and it was weird. I don't know what the deal was. I blame the writers more than anything for that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, not dumping Worf's miserable prude ass after he joins a literal terrorist group.
Yep.
Yeah, you owe her, buddy.
And honestly, just not dumping Worf's ass many times.
True.
Because Worf kind of is a load.
Oh, he is just the worst partner.
Whatever. She loves that Klingon, and
That double dick.
Yeah, and Kor was getting up there in age, so.
Cole also still alright though. Oh wait, he died.
Yeah.
But he probably used to stick both
Dang.
dicks in Curzon's butt, right? So
Weird.
What's your third one, Jake?
Third one is going to be, this is an Ezri moment.
Oh.
And again, banging Worf. Because and it's not just because Worf's a load and shouldn't be banged, but also, what a terrible fucking idea.
Yeah.
He really likes to marry everyone he's intimate
Yeah.
with, and you know that. And also, he's been fucking weird to you the entire time you've been on the station because he can't cope with you being his former wife, who's now his dead
Not
wife.
wife twice removed.
Also,
Not wife twice
This
removed.
is after
exactly.
she defied orders and left the station.
Don't go find the missing Worf and waste a shuttle pod and go into the Badlands. She's like, nope, I'm doing it. No one checks runabouts.
But also, not to be crude, but Jadzia was a sturdy woman.
Mm-hmm.
Ezri doesn't look to be. And we know Klingon, she's lucky he didn't snap her in half.
And we're not lucky he didn't.
Poor Ezri.
Fuck her. Whoop. Sorry.
Worf did.
Yeah.
No.
Ah.
Okay, so other than just being Ezri Dax, what have you got, Caitlin?
Well, fucking Julian.
Oh god.
No, it is gross.
No, it is. It is.
I wrote down as one of mine leading into this one. In good God, what episode is this? After Image, she revealed that Jadzia secretly liked being chased by him.
I
She's
saw
like,
that. Yeah,
the
that
fact
was
that you're gonna then
gross.
fuck him. It's like, Ezri, damn it, you fucking idiot.
Yeah.
My second thing, of course, is Ezri fucking Worf.
Yep.
And my third thing is Jadzia getting fucking killed by Gul Dukat like a fucking dumb bitch. What the fuck was that? And that's not Jadzia's fault, that's the writer's fault, but god damn it! That's the worst Jadzia. That's the worst Dax moment of all, is that Jadzia dies and then we're stuck with fucking Ezri. So.
Yeah, piling on that, the other thing about her death that's the fucking stupidest is her death line is, Worf, the baby. And it's like, oh, right, because now you're just baby crazy.
You're just an incubator.
Oh, good.
Hey, yo, baby.
It's not that you were a fully formed character who developed and had,
nope.
so many dimensions within dimensions because of the Trill thing. But
Yeah.
nope, now you're just baby. Gross. I have some others, though, to bring up.
Bring it up.
I'll always bring up this one because even though I think it's... I don't fucking know. It's when she groveled to Sorella in You Are Cordially Invited to get the wedding back on. Didn't like it. Thought it was entirely out of her character. Thought it was entirely out of Klingon culture. What the fuck is up with that? Gross.
Yeah, it's easy to forget that's kind of because I just mostly think about how much Martok thinks she's great.
Yeah, but whatever the... If they had made it like, yes, you were supposed to try to defy me because that makes you a
that
strong
would have made a lot
warrior.
more. Yeah.
Done. Yay.
No, I agree.
That's exactly what Jadzia is.
I forget about that aspect of the episode because I just think about Martok, and you're reminding me, I guess, is what I'm saying, and I
Hooray.
appreciate that.
All right, this one's going to come up probably another time after this one, but I'll mention it here as well, because everyone deserves blame for this, and that's the role she played in wiping Kern's memory in Sons of Mo, because she was there for it, and she was totally fine with all of it, and god damn it, that's just disgusting. And the last one... Oh boy, some of these were stupid ideas. Here's a good one. Oh god, in Facets. When it's her Jean Terra time. And she's going around asking everyone to be, possessed by her. For her Jean Terra. The way that she got Quark to agree to be Audred, I want to say, was by giving him Umox. And good god, there's so many fucking times in this show women give Ferengi Umox, and I hate it every time.
No, that's fair. That is fair. It is always gross.
It is always bad, and I hate it. Ta-da.
Umox, more like, ooh, no. What?
Sure. Well, that is it for this week. Thank you, as always, for joining us on A Star to Steer Her By. Next week, we will be looking at First Flight and Bounty.
First Flight, is that the one with Keith Carradine?
How would I know
I
that?
don't know.
Any relation to David Carradine?
Yes. It's the one I think. I might be thinking of a different one.
Who is our character next week?
Julian Bashir.
Oh boy.
Fucking Ezri.
Oh, expect that moment I mentioned a moment ago to come up again. I'm
Chasing
sure it will.
Jadzia.
Next week. Yes, until then.
Being a fucking bitch about the Carrington Award. There we go. I've done my Julian Bashir part.
All right, Caitlin can take next week
It
off.
is the one with
Perfect.
Keith Carradine.
Who is that?
He is
David Carradine's...
David Carradine's brother.
Brother.
Okay.
David Carradine
That's
the only
famously
thing we
did
know him
himself,
of.
We saw him recently in a season of Fargo. In the first season, he played the cop's father that ran the diner.
Oh, I liked him.
Okay, well, there we go. So look forward to Keith Carradine, and look forward to us. Follow us on the Facebook and the Tumblr. Our blogs are there.
Jadzia's up probably right now.
Yeah. So until then, this has been Chris.
This has been Ames.
This has been Caitlin.
And this is always Jake.
Resistance is pretty easy sometimes.
If you're Phlox.
Heh.